Please,
for helping
don't
me.
worry
I
about
really
me.
appreciate it.
You'll miss your bus." He said it without looking up, his voice steady in the way voices get when a person has spent a long time managing their own inconvenience so others don't have to. His wheelchair had caught on the uneven edge of the curb ramp. One wheel dropped into the gap. The frame tilted just enough to make forward motion impossible, and he was working at it calmly, methodically, the way someone does when they've learned that frustration doesn't fix anything. Wren Calloway stopped walking. Her bus was at the corner. She could see it. The number 44, doors still open, the driver looking at his mirror. She had exactly the kind of morning where missing it would mean missing her shift, which would mean a conversation she didn't want to have with a supervisor who tracked tardiness the way some people track grudges. She stopped anyway. "I've got a minute," she said, which was not entirely true. She crouched beside the wheel and found the problem, the front caster wedged at an angle against the concrete lip, and repositioned it with one firm, practiced motion. The chair rolled free. Behind her, the bus doors closed. The number 44 pulled away. She stood up and watched it go with a feeling she chose not to name. "I told you," the man said quietly. "You did," she agreed. "I didn't listen." A pause. Then he said, "Thank you. I'm Gideon Falk." "Wren Calloway." She picked up her bag from the sidewalk. "I'll get the next one." He looked at her, really looked, briefly and directly. "I hope it's worth the wait." She smiled without quite meaning to. Most things are. Wren was 26 years old and had been a nursing assistant at Harmon Medical Center for 2 years. She was not yet a registered nurse, though she had passed her prerequisites and held acceptance to a program she had deferred 3 times, once for money, and once for money. The pattern was not complicated. She lived carefully, spent nothing she didn't have to, and kept her nursing school acceptance letter in the top drawer of her nightstand like a photograph of somewhere she intended to visit. She loved the work with a specificity that surprised people. Not the idea of it, the actual texture of it. The way a patient's breathing changed when they finally felt safe. The particular quiet of a night ward at 3 a.m. The small, precise actions that meant the difference between discomfort and rest. She was good at it in ways that her supervisor noted in performance reviews, but that the pay scale did not yet reflect. She took the next bus. She was 22 minutes late. The conversation with her supervisor was exactly as unpleasant as anticipated. She didn't think about Gideon Falk again that day. She was too tired. Gideon Falk was 33 years old. He had used a wheelchair for 4 years, following a spinal injury sustained during a hiking accident. The kind of accident that happens in under 3 seconds and reorganizes everything that comes after. He had been in his late 20s when it happened. Midway through building a healthcare logistics company he'd founded with 2 colleagues and a shared conviction that medical supply chains were needlessly broken. He had continued building it from the chair. The company now served 11 hospital networks across 4 states. His office had wide corridors and a sit-stand desk that he rarely used the standing function of, mostly because he found the joke of it quietly amusing. He was, by most measures, successful. He was also, in ways he didn't discuss at board meetings, more attentive to the world at ground level than he'd ever been before the accident. You notice different things from a different height. Curb cuts, door widths, the way people's eyes move when they decide whether to help or look away. Wren Calloway had not looked away. He asked his assistant to find out where she worked. He did this not with any particular plan, but with the quiet intention of someone who believes that a kindness, when offered genuinely, deserves to be acknowledged genuinely. A card arrived at Harmon Medical Center addressed to her 3 days later. Inside, handwritten, I looked up the bus schedule. You were late to work. I'm sorry for that. If there's ever something I can do, GF Wren read it twice in the break room, then folded it into her pocket and went back to her shift. She didn't respond for a week. Then she wrote back, a short note, practical and warm, saying it wasn't his fault, and she hoped the rest of his day had gone well. She included no return address, because it didn't occur to her that she was owed anything. That was, Gideon would later say, the detail that decided everything. His assistant tracked down her contact through the hospital's volunteer coordinator. Wren had listed herself for a community outreach program, and Gideon called her on a Tuesday evening. "I'd like to offer you something," he said, "not as payment. I want to be clear about that. I'm not trying to settle a debt. I looked into nursing programs. I know you're deferred at Callaway Marsh." A pause. "Same last name as yours, actually." "I noticed. My grandfather helped found it," Wren said quietly. "A long time ago. Before the money ran out." The line was silent for a moment. "I want to fund your degree," Gideon said. "Full tuition. No conditions. No obligation to my company or anything connected to it. Just, you should be a nurse. Anyone who watched you for 30 seconds on that sidewalk can see that." Wren sat down on her kitchen chair slowly. Outside her window, the evening was doing the particular thing it does in early autumn. Golden and slightly sad and full of a feeling she could never quite name. "Why?" she asked. "Because you missed your bus," he said simply. "And you didn't once make me feel like that was my fault." She enrolled the following semester. She kept her job part-time through the first year, then reduced her hours when the coursework required it. Gideon's contribution covered tuition fully, no strings, as promised. They spoke occasionally, the way people do when a connection has been made that doesn't fit any existing category, but is real nonetheless. What Wren discovered, halfway through her second year, was something that reordered her understanding of the whole chain of events. Gideon's company had been quietly developing a partnership with Harmon Medical Center, her hospital, and the contract had been finalized the same week she'd received his first card. He had not told her. He hadn't wanted her to wonder about his motives. She understood when she found out that the withholding had been a form of consideration. He'd wanted her to trust the gift before she knew the context. She decided she respected that more than she could easily explain. She told him so directly. At a small gathering his company hosted the following spring. "You could have told me," she said. "I know," he said. "But then you would have spent 6 months wondering if the kindness was real." She looked at him. "Was it?" "Entirely," he said. And she believed him, the way you believe things said without performance or decoration. She graduated on a Thursday in May. Her mother came, 2 of her classmates, and Gideon Falk, who sat near the back of the auditorium and did not draw attention to himself, which was not particularly difficult for a man who had spent 4 years learning to be unremarkable in rooms that expected him to be otherwise. After the ceremony, in the courtyard he said, "How does it feel?" Wren held her folder, the degree inside it, real and final, and thought about the bus she hadn't taken, the curb she'd crouched beside, the note she'd kept in her pocket for a week before responding. "Like something that was always supposed to happen," she said. "Just rerouted," he smiled. Good word for it. She had missed her bus for a stranger. Not heroically. Quietly, practically, because someone needed a small thing done and she was there to do it. And that 30-second decision, made without any thought of return, had rerouted her entire life toward the place she was always meant to be. Kindness doesn't require calculation. It only requires the willingness to stop. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.